And if you compare it, right, put that information
lying.
And MJ, I want to be very clear. I get the question that you're asking me, but this is also a president who has had a historic administration. He has, in delivering on legislation, key policies. That is because with age comes wisdom and comes experience. And I think that matters as well.
Did Dr. O'Connor watch the debate?
I believe Dr. O'Connor traveled with us to the debate.
So did he have any concerns after seeing the president's
not at
debate
all.
performance?
Not
I have
at
one
all.
more question actually for you.
Sure.
The campaign's theory of the case from the president staying in the race has been that the president has a better shot of defeating Donald Trump than any other Democrat. The president explained not passing the baton to his own 59-year-old vice president given that kind of data.
So look, as you know, I'm constrained to speaking directly what the campaign has laid out, their argument of the case. That is something for them to take up, and that is something for them to answer. What I can speak to is the president's record, what I can speak to what he's been able to accomplish, and the things that he's been able to do and get done.
Why don't you talk about what he's like behind closed doors?
The majority of Americans, and I think that's important too, to note. And again, I will say, with age comes wisdom and experience, and that's certainly something that the president brings. Go ahead.
We've seen some real regret over it, and if what you would say to folks who think it's arrogant for there not to be either changes towards that strategy or with some of the personnel that are around the president.
And you're talking about the strategy specifically about who's around the president? Is that what you're?
I think it's two parts, right? One is a kind of small, concentrated group of aides that have been with the president for a very long time, and the other is sort of systematic decisions to shield the president from the impromptu moments that we've seen in previous administrations, whether it's press conferences or interviews or just being out in public more frequently.
I mean, look, a couple things there too.
Just a couple of things.
This year, the president has done more than 40 interviews, and unscripted, right? Those interviews are unscripted. He has done more than
what have you done for me
500
lately?
Gaggles. Right? Of course, unscripted, talking directly to many of you. No, let me just finish. And so he enjoys doing that. He enjoys
the past
engaging with
means
all of you.
nothing right now.
And we're going to continue making sure that
It
happens.
means nothing right now.
I will say this. Obviously, this is a president that was a senator for 36 years. He was a vice president, as you all know. I'm just
It's
repeating
time for
things
him
that
to
you all
be
know,
retired.
For 8 years. And so he has long time advisors that have been here with him for a long time.
He has long
I don't
time.
think that's unusual. He also has people who are new to the administration that advise advise him.
What is she
I've been in meetings
talking
with the
about?
president where it's been a diverse group of people, and he sees us, and he knows the reason why we're sitting in front of him is that we have something to share, and he wants to hear from all of us. I heard you say, "Hey, what is it? What do you think? What do you think?" And so my experience has been
we're having lucid conversations with him.
That world is indeed open, and that he does get to hear from a diverse group of people. That has been my experience.
Don't care about diversity right now.
But it is not unusual for someone who has been around for that long of time to have a group of people that's been around him for a minute, right? And I think that makes sense. There's nothing about that is nonsensical.
Pay no
that actually
attention
makes
to
sense.
any of this
And
that's
we're
going
going to
on that you
continue to
see.
get him out in front of all of you to take your questions.
Disgusting people.
At a steady drumbeat.
NATO, and I have two questions. One's just a logistical one, which is you mentioned the press conference.
Yeah.
Is that going to be kind of the real big boy press conference that we're used to?
Did you say big boy press conference?
Like one of these 2-and-2s that might be a little more limited.
So I believe, and I know you guys are holding me to it, I believe it's a solo press conference. We'll certainly have more to share with all of you as we get closer to next week.
More thematically,
We support the big boy.
I'm about to say, big boy Justin over here is asking some big boy questions. Okay.
what do the president's not the only leader
Yeah.
that's entering that NATO conference. A little bit on the back foot. Emmanuel Macron has had some electoral losses. The UK is obviously going through a big election right now. With all these leaders kind of coming in to DC a little bit diminished, how is that changing how you're looking at the summit, and what is possible to
No,
accomplish with it?
look, it's a good question. I think one thing, as I talk about the president's record and what he's been able to do, right? He's been able to strengthen our worldview, the way that people see us across the globe, other leaders, our partners and allies.
Oh, yeah, they see
because of
us,
that
I
experience.
bet.
Again, with experience brings, with age brings experience and wisdom. And I think because of that, the president has been able to build a coalition. If you think about Ukraine and the aggression
President
from
hasn't
Russia
built
and what
shit.
Russia has done to Ukraine as Ukraine continues to fight that aggression, to fight for their freedom and democracy, the president
He's
was
a
able to bring
puppet.
50 plus
He is.
countries to support Ukraine, to support their fight. And so, look, I will say that the president is looking forward, certainly to hosting the leaders of our 31 NATO allies. As you know, two additional countries have joined NATO, and that's because, again, of the president's leadership. And next week in Washington, D.C., as you know, the historic summit is to mark the 75th anniversary of NATO's founding. So for 75 years, NATO has kept us and the world safer. And under the president's leadership, this president's leadership, our alliance is stronger, it's larger, it's more united than ever. And so I think what you're going to see
Wow, the
is that
president's
displayed
amazing,
next
isn't he?
week, right here in Washington, D.C. And I think I think you all would agree that the president played a very, very, very big role in where NATO is today. Yeah, Jackie.
Thank you, Corinne. The administration strongly criticized the media for clips showing the president appearing to be confused,
There you go, the
freezing
cheap
at
fakes.
times, and you called it cheap fakes, misinformation,
Yes.
disinformation. In one case, even implied that it was the product of artificial intelligence, calling it deep fakes. Do you have any regret over using that language?
No.
Not at all. Not at all. And let me be clear, it was a certain part of the media. And, I mean, you can speak to this better than I can. A certain part of the media which was doing this. And look,
does
independent
that mean?
mainstream fact checkers in the press and misinformation experts have been calling out cheap fakes. And at the end of the day, they're fakes. That's what they were. Targeting the president. They had said,
Oh, so this was a one-off.
reporters
don't
and
have
these
anything that
misinformation experts
shows.
said that this president was being targeted. And what we did was echo them.
What a liar.
That's what we did. And look, we'll certainly
Targeted them.
continue to call that
Did you
out.
say that?
And the cheap fakes didn't come from me. I didn't coin that. I didn't come from this White House or this podium.
What?
Yes, it
that
did.
came from the media. They called it cheap
No.
fakes. And they said this president, President Biden, was being targeted on misinformation. It
What
was
is she
purposefully being
talking
done to this president.
What a
And what
lying
we did
bitch.
is we echoed that. So I don't regret it at all.
Well, the
It was just the
administration
facts.
used that sort of approach to counter the Wall Street Journal report, for instance, that interviewed 45 people over several months who
Oh, boy, sorry,
criticized,
it's
you know,
hot, dude.
the president's handling of himself in
I
meetings.
hate to be hot, Jeff.
And broadly,
Which approach? I'm not following. the
talking
question.
about the president's age being a factor and a concern.
How was cheap fakes? I don't
The
understand
approach
where
from the White
cheap
House
fakes
to
was-
criticize
was
the
related.
reporting, to basically cast the reporting as not true. And broadly, this has been, the reason I ask is like the administration's response to our questions often seems to be, don't believe your lying eyes. The
Yes,
border's secure,
yes.
Afghanistan withdrawal was a success, inflation's transitory. So is that going to change?
I mean, you just laid out, Jackie, you just laid out a bunch of things, so just give me a second here. First of all, I think this is a give and take, right? Even in this briefing room, we go back and forth. I go back and forth with you, with your colleagues, with everyone here.
Okay.
And I think we have a right to say if something we don't think is true or something we think we want to push back on. That is a right for us to do, just like you have a right to push me and say, actually, our sources or our reporting say this. I think it's a give and take. This is what makes what we
God.
do in this room
my
almost
job
every day.
to lie.
This is an exercise of democracy. This is an exercise of freedom of the press.
No, it's
That's what
not.
we're doing here. And I
No,
think
it's
if there's
not.
some reporting that we don't believe to be true, I think it's
You're
okay if we
withholding
go back and forth
information.
and say, actually, we don't think that reporting is true. Right? And so I don't see
Good
anything
idea about the
wrong
swamp
with
cooler,
that.
love.
That is what this is. That is what this is. This is what we actually do on a daily basis. This is how we lead
Hang a wet
the
towel in
world
front of a box fan,
on
dude.
making sure that journalism
Yes.
exists.
Works.
And you all have the right to do your jobs. But, you know, we also have our right.
We have a
as
right
the
to lie.
Press office here in the administration, if we don't believe something is true or we want to share our side of things,
Wow.
that we do so. Look, on the other things that you just listed, I've talked about this president's record a lot, often here, in this just however minutes I've been at this podium. And look, when it comes to the economy, the data shows it. When it comes to healthcare, the data shows it. Afghanistan, obviously, it is an important conversation to have, and that is something that the president wanted to do and end a war, and a forever war. He wanted to make sure that we stop putting our young women and men in harm's way.
It's a conversation we should have,
that
though.
is a difficult
Why aren't we
decision
ever
to
having
make.
it?
It is not an easy decision to make. But he's the president
I hate
and
when she
commander
thumps the
in chief,
podium
and
all
he
the
wanted to
time.
make sure that we got our armed troops
Yeah,
out
total
of harm's
traitor.
way.
She should swing,
and so,
Jeff.
honor and privilege for me to do this job, and I will continue to do that. Go ahead.
Thank you.
No, Michael.
Okay.
Oh,
Mike, go ahead, Michael.
okay.
I'll get you.
I have two big boy questions. Medium, I don't know, whatever. First, does the president intend to spend most of his days in July on vacation in Rehoboth and Wilmington?
We certainly will have more to share on what his schedule is going to look like for the rest of the month. I don't have
40%
anything
of
to
the
share
time
at this
he's on
time.
vacation.
I can assure you the president will be out and about, talking directly to the American people.
All
I just
chipper.
laid out the next couple of days. I don't have anything to share
I guess-
beyond NATO, right? As you know, there's going to be the NATO summit next week, so don't have anything to share beyond that. But the president will be out there talking directly to the American people. I have to be mindful. Obviously, we're in campaign season. The campaign could speak more to what his schedule is going to look like specifically.
Okay. And then the second question, we just posted a story, which probably I'm not sure you've seen because we just
Spit it
posted it
out,
in the
son.
briefing, but in which many people that we've talked to describe accelerating series of episodes, moments when, over the course of the last several weeks, the president appeared confused or listless,
Yes.
or would lose the thread of a conversation in private meetings at the G7, in Normandy, at the White House.
Yes.
Not all the time, not saying that that's the way he is all the time, and that there's clearly moments people say
There
that
are
he's
moments.
forceful and with it and all of that. But these people suggest that what happened, what Americans saw at the debate, has a precursor. What do you say to that?
So I want to be mindful and respect your reporting. I have not read it. I have not seen it, so it's hard for me to respond to it directly. But
Well,
what
no,
I can
it's
speak
not.
to more broadly
He told you exactly what the fucking
is
was
that
the
I
reporting was.
have engagement with the president pretty regularly. What I see is a strong, resolute president who's always willing and able to work on behalf of the American people. I do not know who these folks are that you speak of, so it's hard for me to talk about
No,
that
it's not. No, it's
and
not.
to speak to that. I can just speak to my experience and go
And it
back
never
again
happens
on the
with you,
president's
you
record and what
lying
he's been
bitch.
able to deliver on behalf of the American people. So I just do want. I
Yeah,
do
these
want to be
people
mindful.
need to swing from a
Sure,
hard arm.
sure.
Is 50 million plus Americans
Yeah.
saw the debate last Thursday. They get a very different story from you. You just described a very different sounding president. Obviously, other administration officials describe him very differently than what people saw. How do you reconcile those two versions of
Look, he had a bad
president?
night. It
One
was a
who
cold. It was
appears
just
the
a
way they
cold.
did to millions of people, and the other who appears always to be, sort of very forceful and not have any of those.
I mean, look, the president spoke to this. You heard me speak to this. We believe, and others have said this, not just me, other folks who have been on networks and also obviously has spoken to all of you, it was a 90-minute debate.
We know how long it was.
It was a bad night. That's what we believe it to be. We're not taking away what people saw. We're just not. That is, want to be very clear about that. We want to also make sure people understand that the president realizes. I keep saying this over and over again. He said he's not as young as he used to be, and he has addressed this over and over and over again. But you saw him last night. Right, you saw him last night. You saw him at the rally. You saw him at the watch parties. There's been many
Total
instances.
DEI.
State of the Union. You saw him
We saw
take
him
on
make words
take on Republicans by himself.
with a teleprompter.
And what was happening back and forth in the State of the Union. There has been also many instances where the
Where he's
president
been not
has
there, though.
really showed
That's the ones
his
we
strength
wanna
and
know
resolute
about.
that all of you have seen and commented about it. And so I think we cannot forget that as well.
We cannot forget
and
the
we also
other
heard
parts
from,
either.
President Obama, who himself has said, his first debate
It's not a bad
wasn't
night.
great. He talked about
It's not a
that.
bad night.
And most incumbents, their first debates aren't great. And so, look, we're going to continue to
We saw
build
'em all
on
right.
the unprecedented record by continuing to fight for the American people. That is our commitment, and that's what we're going to continue to do. Thank you. Thanks, Michael. Go ahead.
Thanks, Karine. I have two questions. But to follow up on that, you talked about how you've spent time with the president. When you're looking at the time you've spent with him, have you ever seen the president have a bad night, like we saw on the debate stage during
No.
your time here at the White House?
No.
So were you
Lie.
surprised by what you saw on the debate stage?
I mean, look, I know that he had a cold. Many of you were reaching out to us.
He had
to
no
my team
cold.
and myself directly. You heard
Nobody
from Moore's
believes
voice.
this.
We were able to confirm he had a cold. He was under the weather, obviously.
Would you give him a COVID test?
And look,
The next day,
we
how
all
come he
have
was so forceful?
bad-
The cold
bad nights,
mysteriously
right? Or bad
disappeared.
moments.
24-hour
It is
bug
not
there?
unusual. I just said there have been most incumbents, for their first debate. It doesn't go well. So it's
Just
not also
pretend it
unusual
never
in
happened.
that regard as well. So, look, we're going to
Don't
move forward.
believe your
That's what we
lying
want to do. We
eyes.
want to look forward. We just announced some engagement that the president's going to have.
Look at
we
the
announced,
monkey.
obviously, the interview with ABC and George Stephanopoulos. He's going to go to Wisconsin.
Yeah, it's going to be a
he's gonna
highly
go to
produced
Pennsylvania. We're gonna
interview
have
with George
a press
Snuffleup, I
conference
guess.
next week. We want
With
to turn the
softball
page
questions.
on this. And we want to turn the page for the American people as well, because we know that they need to see him out there. He's going to
And he's gonna have an
be out there.
earpiece
He
for that
has been.
interview.
And we understand how important that is. And so we're going to turn the page. We're going to get out there across the country.
Turn
Americans are going
the
to see him
page.
for themselves. And I think that's going to be very important as well.
And has the president had a chance to speak one-on-one with Vice President Harris since the debate?
I can't speak to any conversations that they've had, and so I'll just leave it at that. I don't have any readout.
I just want somebody to ask, do you expect us to believe this shit? Just right out, straight out.
So I've spoken to a lot of donors since the debate.
Oh, the
and,
donors.
They want to know what exactly happened that night.
Right.
So just to follow up on MJ's question, I know you said
Yeah.
he hadn't taken any cold medication. Was there any other medication he had taken? That's what many of them are asking.
No, I understand. I was asked about.
How about a
I was
forensic
asked about the
analysis
cold
of what
medicine.
went wrong?
I asked about the cold medicine. He was not taking any cold medicine, and I don't have anything beyond that. I don't have anything beyond that to share. And look, I've
done sharing,
answered this
damn
question
it.
multiple times at this point. I don't have anything else to add beyond what I have shared with your colleagues here in the room. We really, truly want to
This is like
turn
a
the page on
this
this.
is like
We
a
really want to be able to
kindergarten
get out
class
there,
or what?
and
Is this sharing time?
speak directly to the American people. Speak directly to you all. The president will, and I think that's important too. Look, and not forget what this president has been able to do the last 3.5 years. How he's been able to deliver, and there is a stark contrast in what this president has done and what Republicans in Congress are doing, right? He's trying to protect our rights as president. He's trying to protect our freedoms. He's trying to protect really important programs that matter to the American people. He wants to protect women's rights, Roe v. Wade. He wants to continue to build an economy that works for all. That's what we're going to focus on. And that's what Americans are going to hear, continue to hear from this president. Anything else, I
right. You can
think
hear
I've
me now.
litigated this a lot already in this briefing room. I just don't have anything else to add. Go ahead, Andrew.
Thank you, Karine. Two questions.
Sure.
You have repeatedly referred to the president's outing after the debate at the watch party, his remarks the next day in North Carolina, his appearances at fundraisers, his appearances this morning at the DC Emergency Operations Center. All of those appearances were scripted events where he spoke
Not all.
Right.
from a
Yes.
spoke from
I
a
know,
teleprompter.
but you said all, but not all.
Okay, well,
Let's just
if you're
be- let's
correcting me,
be-
they're most. They're scripted, spoken from a teleprompter. How are Americans supposed to get the sense that the president is fully engaged and capable and thinking off the cuff when he's reading from prepared remarks so often?
Why doesn't
And
he just do a 2-hour press
Why can't he just come
conference?
down here? The briefing room's 30 seconds away. Why can't he come down here and assure us and the American people that he's okay? And I have a follow-up.
Okay. First of all, it wasn't all. It was, you know, when he was speaking in front of the audience, but it wasn't all. When you think about the tarmac, when you think about engaging at the Waffle House, when you think about engaging at the watch party and doing a very long rope line, and when he was at the tarmac, it was in the middle of the night, literally 2 o'clock.
Did we fucking see the footage
we all
except him
wanted
walking
to
into the
go to bed,
goddamn
but
Waffle
the president
House? That's all we were
was
allowed
certainly
to
very
see.
focused and zeroed in
He
on the
walked
American
in,
people
okay,
who were
great.
out there, cheering him on and wanting to see him and take selfies and get a hug. From this president.
She's
That's what
empty,
you
man.
saw.
Well, she's got
And I don't know if
nothing.
you
I mean,
missed
you
this,
know,
but I
they're
also
flat out
shared that
lying,
he has
Jeff.
done more than 40 interviews this year alone, and we're going to continue that. He's going to do an interview with ABC, George Stephanopoulos, this week. Those were unscripted.
How about coming
Those
to the
were
press
unscripted.
briefing room?
He's done more than 500 gaggles. Those are unscripted, and we want to continue to do that.
Recently,
we do. we want to continue to do
now,
that. There's going to
lately,
be
now.
a press conference next week, a NATO big boy press conference, as Justin has reminded us.
Big boy
next
press
week, and
conference.
so that's going to be important as well.
And I have a follow-up. And
Sure.
One of my colleagues behind me shouted a similar question to what I'm going to be asking you, but I think
I don't remember the question.
given what happened on Thursday, given the reporting in the New York Times and other outlets about the president's more frequent lapses, losing his train of thought, all of us saw what happened on Thursday, where he simply could not form coherent answers to many, or some, if you will, of the questions, and appeared to lapse into nonsensical answers at the end. We beat Medicare, for instance.
We beat Medicare.
I'm going to ask something delicate, and you may not like it. The president may not like to hear it if he's watching, but
25th
I think
Amendment.
the American people need to get a yes or no answer on this. Does President Biden, at 81 years old, have Alzheimer's, any form of dementia, or degenerative illness
Thank God,
that
finally.
cause these sorts of lapses? And it's a yes or no question. And if you don't know, why don't you, as one of his senior staff members, know? The
I
yes
have
or
an
no
answer for you. Are you ready for it?
Yes.
It's a no. And I hope you're asking the other guy the same exact question.
Oh,
Okay.
the other
Okay,
guy.
guys.
Yeah, they won't have any
Stephen,
document.
that Congressman Doug had put out.
Yeah.
Does the president feel like members, Democratic congressmen, should be able to speak their minds on this? Or does he think, calling for him to withdraw is hurting the party writ large?
I mean, look, that's something about the Democratic Party that we really respect. It is a big tent party. Many people are going to have their opinions. We are going to have our disagreements, and that is what is important. And we really respect
As long as you're not
other
conservative.
people's opinions and thoughts. I think that's what makes
Well, even Jesus.
This party different, right, than the other side. Certainly, we see that with
The
how
other
it's
side,
playing
with the
out in
other guy on
Congress,
the other
or
side.
how it tends to play out in Congress. So the congressman is going to have his opinion. He's going to have his thoughts. That's for him to speak to. We are not.
Is she
This is
talking about
not
the
a president that's
congressman? Yeah.
about his personal politics. That is not this president is all about. He doesn't care only about himself. That is not what this president is all about. And I also read out some supportive statements that we've heard from leaders of Congress. Former Speaker Pelosi, I read out what she laid out. I read out what Congressman Clyburn
she's
has
malfunctioning.
said. And I think that matters as well. And you all have heard from multiple supporters over the past couple of days since Thursday. And I think that's important as well.
Just to be clear, the president has not spoken to either Senator Schumer or Leader Jeffries?
What I can say is that the president plans to speak to them this week. I don't have
Plans to
anything
this
beyond-
week. The whole
Well,
party's on fire.
No, I hear you. I addressed this moments ago. The president was on the road for 2.5 days, did 4 states. His advisors, his
You're just
high-level
keeping
White
him
House
away from
officials
the
were talking to
cameras.
congressional members, as some of you have reported over the past couple of days. I think that's important. They have regularly engaged, not just with congressional members, with governors, with with mayors, and then there's the campaign that does it on a political level, right? They've had regular calls. I think some of you have reported on that as well.
Oh my God.
Now this week, the president is going
This is
to
just
take some
pathetic
time
and sad.
and talk to those congressional members, and as I stated, also to Democratic governors tomorrow. Okay.
You've mentioned that sometimes that candidates have a bad first debate. There's been a lot of discussion going around, and of course no decision yet, but that maybe there isn't a second debate.
So I want to be super careful. That's something for the campaign to respond to, but I do believe they did respond to this, and I do believe they have responded to this, and they said that there's going to be another debate, but that's something for them to speak to. And I will just quote
If he lives
what
that long.
President Obama stressed, right? Bad debate nights happen. Trust me, I know. And then he
Oh,
praised
shut
President
up with
Biden's
this,
leadership and his
Obama. Who
agenda of
gives a
fighting
shit?
for the middle class, our freedoms, and the rule of law. And you heard the president speak to the rule of law just last night.
Rule of law.
And so certainly that will continue.
We're the
But
lawless
you've heard from
party
a
now,
former
you know
president
that?
about this particular
MAGA,
issue.
we're the lawless ones.
Obama was 51 during that
I kind of knew you would say that.
debate.
I knew you would say that. But he's not the only one. He's not. It has happened in the past. First debates for incumbents.
That was not
sometimes
a
not their
poor
best.
debate performance.
I
What
know
we
you've
saw.
said a couple times that you want to turn the page.
Yeah.
The issue, I think, the core issue here is that you can't turn the page on age.
Yeah.
Aging decline is a one-way street.
Well,
So
right.
at the end of the day,
Right.
if these are the questions you're getting now, what are the questions you're going to be getting in 2 years or 3 years?
Right.
About 2 or 3 years from now. But look,
How can you or anyone say that you have confidence that he can
What a
be in this
chucklehead.
job at that time?
look, here's what I would say to that. We are not turning the page on age. That's not what we're doing. We understand. We get that, right? The president
Yo, we
said, "I
get
am not
that.
a young man." He said that. We get that. We understand how the
you?
American people feel.
Do you?
What we want to continue to do is deliver for the American people.
Oh.
That's what we want to see. That's what the president wants to do.
Yeah, but too bad.
And that's the turning of page. Let's continue on the successes, on the unprecedented successes that this president has had. and on issues that
can't make
majority
this
of
stuff
Americans
up,
care
man.
about. Healthcare, economy, those are things that they care about. Democracy, freedom, fighting for the rights for women to make decisions on their bodies. That's what the president wants to
He
continue.
rubbed his
That's the
arm.
turning of the page. But we get it.
Is this what he was doing
Look,
after the debate,
I'm
rubbing
not taking
people's
away
arms,
from
for God's
that.
sakes?
I
Jesus.
don't want to do that. That is not. I do not want to walk off this podium and that's what you all think. We're not doing that, and the president doesn't want you all to do that. But he can do the job. He can.
We don't believe you.
What gives you confidence about 2 years from now, or 3 years from now, or 5
We
years?
believe that this is a president that is able to continue to deliver and build on the unprecedented
You're lying.
success that he's been able to
You're
do. That's what we
lying.
believe. We believe, and he believes it, and he is determined.
Well, of course he
and
believes it. He's in
committed
dementia.
To doing that. And Michael, and I think the thing too that's important is we have been able to do things that most modern presidents haven't been able to do, and that matters as well. I know you guys are trying to get me to
No,
look
that
into
just
the
means
future,
there's a fucking
but what I can
cabal
say to you is
doing
this is a
shit.
president that is committed to doing that.
I'm not sure anybody
Yeah.
doubts that commitment.
Yeah.
I think the question is, given the performance, and I apologize.
No, Michael's like, no, you take it.
I mean, I just think the question, it's about the way we look at our elderly parents and grandparents.
Nobody
It's,
buys this shit.
You maybe visit them once a year and you see troubling signs because you don't live in the same city perhaps, and the first question that you go to is, I wonder if this is like a one-time thing or if it's something that has been happening for
Chronic.
a longer time that we need to deal with. And the second question is,
You're going
where are they going to be
multiple
in
times here.
where are they going to be in a year? Where are they going to be in 2 years?
Yeah.
Do we need to put them in a home? All of the questions that go through that, and this is sort of the American
chucklehead.
people's version of that.
I hear and I hear you, and that's what I'm saying. Look, this is why the president goes
she's
through
tapping that podium
medical
again.
examinations, right? And we release those medical examinations, right? We've done that the past couple of years. We're going to continue to do that. This is why we're going to go out there and continue to be out there and do interviews and talk to the American people And at the end of the day, I got to be careful, right? Because we are in a campaign
Oh,
season.
shut up.
But the American people will see for themselves, right? And I just want to be super careful.
We have seen
But
for
look,
ourselves.
This is a president that has worked incredibly hard for the American people.
Don't care.
And not just as president, as vice president,
Don't
as a senator.
care.
And he is committed.
Don't
and we
care.
cannot take away from the fact of his 3.5 years of leadership.
Nobody's
what that
trying
has
to
been
take
able
away
to
his
do, What he's
legacy.
been able to get done. And that doesn't come from, that doesn't come easily. And he did it in historic fashion. He did. And the data proves that. And so, look, he's committed to continuing to make that progress, continue to work, whether it's climate change, whether it's the economy, whether it's healthcare. That is what he is committed to doing. And, he had a bad night. He did. And we are admitting that, owning up to that. You heard the president speak to that, and I think that's important for the American people to hear from us and from him as well. I know I have to go. I'll be back tomorrow, but go ahead.
Thanks, Karine. I just wanted to go back to the Representative Doggett's statement.
Yeah.
Part of his statement, he said that Biden staying in the race could kind of work against helping to save democracy. So I know you said it was a big tent party, people have their opinions, but how do you corral Democrats when there are members of the party who believe that about the president staying in the race? And do you have a response to that specifically?
Yeah, look, this is a president. He jumped into this election. This I can talk about, obviously, in 2020, and I remind you all that he beat the other guy in 2020. He won in 2020. That's why he's president. But he jumped in because of democracy, right? He jumped in because of what was happening, because he believed he needed to do everything that he can to protect our democracy
Because of the
and now
Charlottesville
protect our
lie.
freedoms because of what happened with Roe v. Wade. Obviously, we don't agree with that. What we believe is that this is a president that has had, that is going to continue to fight for democracy, and that's going to continue to focus on making sure that,
He can't
we get Roe
focus.
v. Wade into law. Right?
There's no
Make sure that
focusing here.
IVF is not taken away from families. Make sure that contraception is not taken away from families. Make sure that we fight for minority rights. Right? There are so many things that we need to continue to fight for. And at the end of the day, this is a president that has delivered, working closely with Congress and doing some of these things in a bipartisan way.
God.
And I think the reason why that he's been able to get some of these legislation done, whether it's the Chips and Science Act, the Veterans Act, bipartisan infrastructure legislation, is because of who he is and because of how he has that experience to work across the aisle. That doesn't happen with everybody, and this president has been able to do that. So we're going to continue to do that work. Guys, I'll see you tomorrow. All right, thanks, everybody.
Very good.
Well, that didn't go well for KJP, did it? No. That was probably, I would say, one of the most uncomfortable times that she's ever had to do that job, right? Don't you think so, boys and girls? Oh my God, that was a fucking train wreck, guys. That was crazy, man. Shit. Oh, wow. Can you imagine doing that job, Jen? It's crazy. I mean, think about it. It's just, you can't tell me, that lady can't tell me, with as much time as she supposedly spends with him, that she's never seen him out of it. Anybody that's spent any amount of time with him is lying through their teeth. It's the emperor has no clothes story, which I've talked about before. And that's exactly what's going on here. And thank God, don't you think the press was a little bit better this time, Jen?
Yeah, yep.
Yep.
And she answered, yeah, she's stupid.
She's an idiot. She's an idiot, and she's a snake. And man, can you imagine where they're going to burn, what level of hell, Dante's hell, they're going to be burning in? I mean, it's got to be way down at the fucking bottom. right? Jeez, that was gross. All right, man, that's it. We just wanted to bring you the White House press briefing. That was quite something. We really enjoyed you. I'm going to be going, and I'll see you tonight at 7 p.m. for Truthslinger Evening News.
Oh.
That's right. My name's Truthslinger.
I forgot it was at 7.
Yeah, it's at 7 o'clock. And then don't forget to catch us tomorrow morning. That's right, 8 a.m. till whenever. Having coffee, talking about the news. So anyway, and whatever else, some other stuff. Might have some. I hear just a little foretaste of tomorrow. I understand we got some pedo beating, pedo retribution action going on tomorrow.
Maybe.
Yeah.
If you're good.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Before I leave, one more thing. If there's anybody here, Jeff is still here with me. I don't know. I haven't seen him chat in a minute, but I'm going to add right here. I'm going to add. Let me close that down. We don't need that. I'm going to add media source, and I'm going to go hippie chick moments. We're going to show you Mama's new intro for her corner for tomorrow morning.
My corner.
Yeah, your segment that you're going to be doing tomorrow. Yeah,
Yep.
she's going to have a segment of her very own.
Yep.
Right? Is that not cool?
Yep. And the
Yeah.
princess of news. Well,
All right,
not
come on.
news.
This computer.
Other things.
Why does it do this?
What?
Just like sit here. I have to run a filter, and then sometimes on other things when I open it, it immediately populates and changes. I don't know. There we go. All right, here we go. Check this. Let me see. We'll put this on. Okay. Oh, we gotta turn this down. Advanced audio properties. Happy chick moments. Monitor. Don't mute the output. All right, there we go. Ready? Uh-oh. I didn't do it right. I needed to add a scene. Hippie. Chick. Moments. Okay. Oh, it's already in use. Well, where is it? Did I already set this up? I might have set this up. Maybe it's this I need to delete. Okay. If you're still here, you must be pretty bored. Sorry. But I'll get this. Give me 1 second. There we go. Now we add a media source. There we go. Video. Okay, and browse. Oh my God, we wait for it to change again. Oh, there it is. All right.
Are you still
Gosh.
on?
Yeah, I am. But you know what? It's going to be worth it. All right, here we go. We're going back to me. Ready?
People
We're going
gonna hate
to.
me.
All right, no, you know what? If there's nobody here, whatever. Here's the hippie chick moments. Ready? And that was funky, right? That was worth.
Funky.
Yeah, that was worth. That was worth it, right? So anyway.